One of the main reasons your photos look flat is that once you're taking the images, there are so many factors that can influence how the image looks. Things like settings, exposure, weather condition, sunlight direction, and also the gears that you're using. In this video, I'm going to show you how to edit an image in order to make it much better, much qualified, and turn it from an ordinary or normal image to a very good one. And we're going to see how we can add dimension to our image. Now let's start polishing the image and the post-production. The first thing that I'm going to do is that I'm going to open my image in Photoshop. I am going to duplicate my layer with pressing Ctrl and J, and after this I am going to open it in Adobe Camera Raw by pressing Filter and Camera Raw Filter. So this is our image in Camera Raw. So the first thing that I'm going to do is that I am going to press this auto editing. Let's see how the Camera Raw is doing the job. So I'm pressing auto and let's see what happens. So this is an option for you that you can use auto adjustment of the Camera Raw that you can use. But now I'm going to tell you how we can do it ourselves in order to have control over each adjustment. Then the first thing that I'm going to do is to increase the exposure in a way that I want. So after that, I'm going to decrease the highlights just a little bit, not that much. Here is good. How about contrast? This is the contrast. I'm going to increase the contrast not that much, just a little bit. Maybe 3 is enough. And how about shadows? I'm going to take out the shadows. How about the whites? I will increase it to 30. How about blacks? -3 is okay. You can add a bit of contrast to our image. Okay. So how about the temperature? +3 is enough. I'm going to add a little bit of saturation. Maybe our temperature is a bit too much. I'm going to decrease it. Okay. The next step will be the effects category. So I am going to add a bit of texture. 6 is good. How about the clarity? Yeah, I think 2 is good for this. We don't have haze in this area, so dehazing is not needed. I don't want too much contrast in my image. I add a -2 number of dehaze. And the details, for the details, we're going to add a little bit of sharpness. 30 is enough. We're also adding noise reduction because we don't want too much noise. Something around here is okay. This is the before and this is the after. Okay, now we're opening our image in Photoshop. The next step will be the perspective correction. If I add our guidelines, they're not 100% like straight. Now I will hide these guidelines. I press Ctrl H. Okay, now I press Ctrl T and I press perspective. I choose perspective for actually correcting the perspective. Now let's see what we're doing. I press enter. I'm showing the guidelines again. Ctrl H. So if you can see in here, the lines are fixed. Not that much in here, not in here. So what we can do in here, if you press Ctrl and T and go to distort, now you can have control over these edges one by one. I mean separately. Okay, so I'm going to fix here separately like this. Much better. How about here? Much better. By just dragging that one point, our perspective is like 100% fixed. Okay, now we're going to have controlled lighting over different areas. I will open Camera Raw again through Filter, Camera Raw Filter. I'm going to now add the vignette to my image, but a controlled vignette, not that much. Now I have added this amount of vignette, and that is enough for me, not that much, and that's it. Okay, if you can see, this is the before and after. The next step is to have controlled light over different areas. I add a brightness contrast layer, reduce this brightness, so this amount of brightness is enough. I add a little bit of contrast, and that's fine. Okay, so I am going to invert this layer mask of mine. Now it's inverted. I will press B for my brush, and the opacity for my brush is 30%. And after that, I am going to brush different areas that I don't want actually attention on those areas. I start painting these areas that I don't want attention on. If I turn this layer on and off, you can see the difference. Okay, you can add some light beams. I will add the light beam right now, and you can find out much better that what I'm talking about. So how to create light beams is very important. What I'm going to do is that I press P for pen, and I am going to create a new layer by pressing Ctrl, Shift, Alt, and N. Now I have a new layer in here. Very quickly, I am marking these areas with my pen tool. So this is the first step. The next step will be to add the light. How to change our marked areas with pen tool to a selection. You should press Ctrl and Enter. After this, we're going to add color white. Okay, now we have this one. The next step will be to reduce the opacity of this layer. For example, 50%. Next step will be to blur it out. What I'm going to do is that I go to filter, I go to blur, and I go to Gaussian blur. Okay, how about this one? Let's zoom out. Okay, it's not that bad, but I think it's a bit too much. I reduce it to this amount. Okay, change the blending mode to the best. Okay, soft light is the best one. I am going to narrow this area by pressing Ctrl T and holding Control and moving this point. Okay, so now about this area. Okay, now I'm going to drag this till here. Now I'm going to remove some parts of this beam of light. I am creating a layer mask, okay, and I am going to press B for my brush because I need my brush. I want my opacity to be 50. I am trying to actually switching this foreground. I press X for switching them, and after that I'm going to remove these areas because it feels that they are not natural. So I start removing, and I don't want to remove it because I need it there. So I again press X for bring it back in here. We have our beam of light there. Okay, so now we have actually kind of passed our beam of light on the back side of the filers. We need to actually increase the amount of light in these areas, which is close to that spot that the light is coming in. I'm going to duplicate this layer. I am removing some of the light in here, not on these areas. Now I will duplicate it again by pressing Ctrl and J. Okay, again I remove these areas. I'm going to add more light by creating another layer. What I'm going to do is to select And I'm going to make it as a selection by pressing Ctrl and Enter. I'm going to fill it with white color by pressing Ctrl and backspace. Okay, then I'm going to blur it using Gaussian blur. Now this amount seems more natural and normal. Now I'm going to blur this beam of light just a little bit. Okay, this feels normal. Okay, now we have successfully added this beam of light to our image. If I make a group, you can see the difference. Okay. Next step will be to enhance the image, the final enhancement. So for this, I am going to merge all the layers by pressing Ctrl, Shift, Alt, and E. Now I have a final layer. If I even turn off these layers, there's also no problem. Select all of these layers with Shift and pressed Ctrl G. Now I have a group that in this group, all the editings that I have done is there. If I turn it off, you can see the before and after. I have selected my layer. I go to Filter and I press Camera Raw Filter. So I add a little bit of texture, just a little bit of clarity. The next step will be to reduce the contrast just a little bit, and I will show you a before and after. This is before and this is the after. You can see that how editing and post-production can be important. That's it for editing this image. If you want to learn more practical editing and photography techniques, subscribe. Stay curious, keep learning. I'll see you in the next video.